Hello, everybody. So I was having trouble going back to the old stream, so I had to start a new stream. I'm sorry if it's I'm still trying to figure out how to do live stream for YouTube. So for people who are over on the other stream waiting for me, I'm so sorry about the mix-up today. I just couldn't find the other stream. So welcome back, everybody, and apologies for what happened last night. I was uploading. I did a remote viewing last night, and I finished the remote viewing, the meditation, around 9:30. And then I tried to upload it directly, and it didn't work. So then I had to keep doing it over and over and over again. And then the next thing I know, I didn't get to sleep until 3:30 in the morning last night. And then my cat woke me up at 5:45 in the morning. I thought I had my alarm set for 8:45. I did not. What can I tell you? The Oracle of Whimsy is only a human. As somebody typed up, I am only human, and these mistakes do happen in the land of the Oracle of Whimsy. So I was studying about real oracles last night, and I thought I would share it with everybody. Welcome, Tony, Connie. Good to see you all. Fellerin, Anna. Yes, the first couple minutes, if you want to ignore this and make yourself a cup of coffee, I want to say hi to people. You know, this is my social life. Hi, Naomi. Oh, Ian's here. Great. Ian's funny. Deborah, Val, Chatty Kathy. I love Chatty Kathy. Zenith, Maria, Anna, Mel. Yes. I'm going to take 2 minutes to reward myself I need some stuff too from this channel. You know, I need a little love. And then I will do my best to take care of you. But I want to say hi to everybody. Rubber Duck, I love the name. Susan, Jane, Lynn, Nancy, Shalise, Diane. Oh my God, so many beautiful people here. Welcome. So today is a Q&A. You own this hour. We are creating the change we want to see in the world. People can be honest with me. People can call me out on my stuff. People can correct me when I'm wrong. You have permission to do all of those things with me, with my fellow sensitives. We only ask that you be respectful. And let's look at data and let's have a real conversation. That's how we roll. And when I make mistakes, we learn from those too. We learn from the mistakes because the mistakes help me do my job better. If I misspoke or if my ego gets the better of me, which happens, you know, I'm only human and I am an Aries, so that is my karmic challenge in this lifetime. Look what I did. Of course, I did nothing other than just deliver somebody's message. So those are the kind of challenges that I have, and so having this kind of a forum keeps me honest. So it's your hour, it's our hour, it's our community, and just a heads up, on the last one of the last videos we let people know where the charity money is going. 100% of the money that is collected from this channel is donated to charity, and we the people get to decide where the money is going to be going. So the majority rules here on the channel, and the majority ruled that the money would go towards children at the border. But I think next month, with people's permission, we'll continue to give to children at the border, but I would like to also take care of the environment. And also, I like to support programs for our own First Persons, Native Americans, particularly the education programs for Native American children. That's a big passion of mine, taking care of the elders. And taking care of the animals. And I also like the community support for people of color, NAACP, Southern Poverty Law, etc. So yeah, just tell me what your favorite charities are. We also donate quite a bit to helping children who've been trafficked, people who've been trafficked. We've donated in the past to Children of the Night, which helps get children off the streets, and also for programs in India that rescue victims of trafficking. I think I forgot to grab my cards, so I'm going to have to grab my cards. But so yeah, that's what we're here to do today. We're here to review, talk about previous remotes, and Whimsy's going to grab her cards. Okay, I'm back. So let's see. Oh, I'm perfect for this platform. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, I didn't know how to get on to the other old feed, Roxanne. Can you tell them? Can you send them a link, Roxanne? Do you mind, Roxanne, taking this link and sending it over to the other one, and the same with other people here, and just apologize to them and just explain that I couldn't figure out how to go live on that. I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in the world when it comes to these things. All right, so people didn't like what Putin had to say, and I actually edited it. He went on a lot longer than that. After he was done with the segregation, which he thought would destroy America, he was really anti-segregation because he felt like if you don't invest in educating your citizens equally across the board, you're not going to have the logical results will be a divided nation, and the people will not be able to build a strong nation. So he found this insane that segregation even would exist, let alone when the Soviet Union. His argument was when they went in, it was uniform because they wanted everybody to be at a certain level, so that because they felt that it would grow the nation. So he was baffled by it, and he actually said some strong things about how people of color are treated in the United States. So people had felt he was hypocritical, and it's good we have these conversations. I know we get Russians that come onto the channel. Some of them are pro-Putin, some of them are anti-Putin. I just think it's a good idea to have the conversation. What's interesting about the Putin speaks was he said some stuff and he made some accusations that I'm not consciously aware that I've ever heard before. Somebody had asked about him killing journalists. He gave a response to that. And he said that what Americans are calling journalists, he was accusing the journalist of being CIA operatives that were taking money from the CIA to be agitators and create unrest in Russia, and that we do this in different countries. And he was basically saying that those folks were not journalists. They were people that were actually on the CIA payroll. But we know when we have this conversation that this is Putin's version. Now we can rip it to shreds. We can analyze it. We can look at the data. We can have that conversation. But at the very least, we know his argument. Or oh, okay. So that feed is not showing up. Yeah, I had trouble with the feed. He's a faker, says Saloma. I don't know. They are not here. Yeah, exactly. I don't know where. YouTube is a mystery. What can I tell you? Okay, let's get started, folks. We can go ahead and answer questions now. There's 269 of us, so I think we'd better get started. You have 1 hour with me to talk about, like I said, whatever you like, and we can go ahead and we can do some shuffling as well. Somebody had asked if I could look at Mitch McConnell, which I'm happy to do. He pretends he's reasonable. Don't we all? Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and do a simple prayer, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get started. I want to call on white light protection for myself and the people watching this video today. We ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records of the people we'll be looking at today. We call on our good angels and spirit guides to be with us. Give us the clarity and wisdom needed to empower ourselves, the people we view, to help the planet and those we love. And with that, I say amen. Okay, we're going to first start with Putin. I mean, not with Putin. We did Putin last night. Let's go ahead and look at Mitch McConnell's cards. People wanted to know if he's going to be reelected, and I think that's a really good thing for us to start with. He feels very underappreciated. He feels like a whip dog. He feels like he gets picked on. He feels like he's a victim. We've talked about this. He feels like he has sacrificed everything for this political party with very little respect or appreciation. He feels like, for all intents and purposes, he's the one that always has to do all the hard work and make all the hard decisions. And so consequently, people are asking him to do certain things like block certain bills. He always has to make the hard decisions, and then everybody takes it out on old Mitch, and he's tired of it. Let's take a look. Is Mitch McConnell going to be re-elected? He does not like the way Trump talks to him. But he has to publicly present a unifying he has to present himself, Mitch does, as we are one party unified, but make no mistake about it. He and Trump do not get on, and he doesn't like the way Trump talks to him. Where he's at right now, refuses to move. And in terms of wanting good things for Kentucky and wanting good contracts for Kentucky, remember we talked about this a few months ago. I'll sign that bill. Give me that contract for Kentucky, and I'll sign that bill. There is this feeling that he doesn't feel he should have to apologize for wanting to bring business to the state of Kentucky. So there is a possibility that some contracts, or this aluminum contract, there seems to be a problem with it. You can see a 2 of swords moving in, refusal to move, refusal to budge. And that's kind of how he responds. That's why people call him turtle. He goes into his shell, 2 of swords, refuses to do anything. But we can see here attached is an inverted Queen of Pentacles. That's the business. That's the money. It's not moving. So something could be theoretically coming up for Mitch McConnell where he's not going to be able to do some of the things he wants to do for the state of Kentucky. We can see an 8 of Wands moving in August, an end of the torture. He presents in the cards in his mind as tortured, unhappy, miserable, whipped dog. You're not going to have old Mitch to kick around anymore. That kind of energy is the energy. Somebody had asked if I could please keep the cards up a little bit longer. Yes, I can. That's a legitimate request. Unable to walk away, unable to let it go. In plainer words, there is a conversation that Mitch McConnell has started to have with senior members of the Republican Party, asking him gracefully to resign, asking him gracefully to not run again, and to let somebody younger step in. These private conversations have already happened between Mitch McConnell and senior leadership, particularly leadership in Kentucky. Maybe it's time to pass the torch, as Swalwell would say. As you can see here, there's an 8 of Cups moving in for Mitch McConnell. He doesn't want to leave. And what he sits in or marinates is how I interpret the 3rd house. His cards, as you can see very clearly, are very defensive. You can see here, this is somebody who really does shut down, really does isolate themselves, and really does feel that they're stubborn, they refuse to change, they refuse to move, they refuse to admit that they have the problem, and it's a chronic condition. So this is somebody who, when they feel overwhelmed, we saw this also in the psyche of William Barr. They will simply sit like a 200-pound child and refuse to move. And by the way, we see that also with Donald Trump. Or as Nancy Pelosi said, I know a temper tantrum. I raised 5 children. I know a temper tantrum when I see one. So this is a child. Mitch McConnell is a child who simply will shut down and crawl into his little hole. And the power he wields is in his refusal to do anything. What he's coming out of movement. So he's probably in Kentucky, or he's probably heading back to speak to constituents. He feels he's going to have victory. He feels like he's refusing to leave because he still has more work to do. He's not listening to senior advice that says that maybe it's time to step down and give somebody younger a chance to take the seat. He feels like he's actually got a winning strategy, and that the next few days it's going to be positive for him. This is what's going on in his mind. where he is at right now, wants to establish a strong foundation and strong partnerships with others. Offers. His hope and his fear that the offers will be reneged on, or that he won't be able to have certain, look at this, it's going into offers and new alliances and new contracts and going back to old relationships, reestablishing old relationships. So this is somebody who is trying to develop, no, he's not ready to hang it up. The final outcome is an inverted hanged man. What I was looking at specifically was to try and see if he wanted to run again or if he was going to step down. And he feels like he's not ready to leave. And that he can win and that he has great things he can do for Kentucky. But with an inverted Queen of Pentacles moving in his future, it's very likely he could lose. And he underestimated the people of Kentucky, because there are major changes happening in the South, and he may get caught up in the middle of that. But in his mind, he thinks he's going to be successful, and in his mind, he thinks that there's things he's going to continue to be able to do for Kentucky. But that's basically what I saw. People are asking him to step down. And he's under this impression that he's going to get everything he wants for Kentucky, and he may be surprised. He may end up losing Kentucky with those cards. Somebody had asked me if I could look at, let me start writing stuff down because people are asking a lot of stuff. Somebody had asked to look at Al Franken. I really like Al Franken. I was really kind of depressed about what happened with him. We'll look at Al Franken next. Biden, very possibly, but the mistake about picking Biden is he can only do one term, and a lot of people feel that it's a very bad idea for for the Democrats to pick someone who can only serve one term. He's already said he's only going to serve one term, and that we really need to pick someone who's ready to go 2 terms. Is Barr really sick? We can look at that. What is Pelosi? She's the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. I'll accept any goodness from anyone in Congress at this point. Oh my God. They're all Geminis, yes. Okay, so I think I got everybody. Did I write down? Okay, I want Biden in the White House. I know, but we needed Biden in the White House 4 years ago. Or 2.5 years ago, excuse me. Kamala. All right, we'll do Kamala. We like Kamala Harris, but I think men are a little frightened of her. Men like Trump. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at Al Franken. Hello, Liberal DS. What is going on with Al Franken? Oh, he's writing a book. Al Franken's writing another book, Lessons Learned from DC. He's talking a lot about his relationship with his wife in his next book, and about reflections on what life was like in DC for him, and how it was very humbling what happened to him, and how that's not entirely bad. Like that he viewed it as a humbling experience. And that there were mistakes he made. Okay, where he's at right now, he's writing the book. So this book will be coming out. It looks like it's going to be coming out. It could be as soon as winter of 2019, or winter, early spring of 2020. And then you can see an Ace of Pentacles moving in inverted. So he lost a lot as a consequence of leaving the Senate. He lost a lot of friendships. He lost a lot of relationships. He lost a lot of contacts and alliances as well. Coming back into his power. He's going to start speaking again, lecturing again, and he's coming back in a very humble way, speaking about his reflections on DC, reflections on his marriage, reflections on his life, and what he learned from this experience. Where does he go from here? He's got a 7 of Cups. How can he continue to be involved in making positive changes in the world, but not in any way that's going to be invasive? 7 of Cups is moving in, so he's looking at his choices. He beats himself up a little bit. He beats himself up about just being stupid, being arrogant, making all of the same mistakes that other men can make when you get cocky or confident, or, he just feels like he was humbled by this experience, like the comedian who flirts or makes stupid jokes or says or does things that are a little bit over the top. This is something that a lot of brilliant people deal with, where they become famous or they become successful, and then they get a little cocky, and then they do things that they tell themselves are okay. In his case, it was using humor and things in ways that might have crossed the line a little bit, and so he's examining his own arrogance. This is a lesson in humility for him. Trying to put the past behind him. He's really grown even closer to his wife. I think her name is Franny. It's really been an experience for him where they really had a very deep coupling as a result of this, of, why did this happen? Where did I go wrong? How, was I arrogant? Did I cross the line? Why did I cross the line? Was I full of myself? What did I need to be humbled? Focusing on his marriage, what his value system is, what he really believes in, and grieving and looking at what still remains. He took a hit financially. Even to the point of some people not even wanting to publish his book, that he may actually have to go somewhere. It's bad, like he had maybe contracts to write a particular type of book. He had certain financial business, and now those people may not want to work with him again. So there's a possibility of a book, but he may have to go with another publisher or something like that has come up for him. And devastating to his family and the people that trusted him. So the psychological and emotional impact on his son, that was devastating for him. He's being very specific here, very honest about this. This is in the 8th house, so it's those people that are closest to him, his son, his wife, his family, the people that trusted him, his constituents who he let down. People that he really promised he was going to try and help, people who had voted for him. The hope and the fear. He really does believe in the mission, and he believes in the work, supporting those people that are left, that remain to do the work. At this point, all he can do is he can go back to the garden, and he's not allowed to go back into the garden and till the soil. He's not allowed to be one of the gardeners, but at the very least, he can support those people who remain. And that is the spiritual challenge for Al Franken. And then the final outcome for him, the wise sage. He's self-reflection, wisdom, supporting those who remain, who fight the good fight. A writer, philosopher, and somebody who is just encouraging the lonely, humble journey, not only in himself, but in others. The humility he was forced to experience as a result of this. And he lost a lot. He lost a lot financially. Those are Al Franken's cards. Wow, that was really pretty interesting. we all can run into those traps, and we constantly have to be checking our own egos. And this is why meditation is really important, and this is why having honest friends who are not yes people are important, that can call you out on your stuff, so that, because all of us run the risk of not being humble and not constantly checking ourselves. So that was interesting. Okay, somebody wanted to know if Barr was sick. So we're going to go in now and take a look at William Barr's health. He doesn't like talking to us. All right. Is William Barr okay? Is William Barr's health okay? I really like that Al Franken reading. William Barr. Are you okay, Mr. Barr? All right. He's celebrating, and then there's an offer turned down. There's something about an offer that keeps getting rejected, but a celebration is coming in. So I don't know what this is about. We'll go into the energy and we'll take a look. Something's going on, that inability to cut off or communicate something that he had wanted. So he's happy about something going on in his business or professional life that he seems to be happy about. And he also sees himself as not having to compromise or work with. Honestly, if I were to objectively look at this energy, it's as if he's winning. He thinks he's winning, and he doesn't have to compromise. That would be the objective way of interpreting cards like this. 3 of Cups, a celebration, refusal to compromise, or refusal to take an existing offer. Getting his wish, coming into the Ace of Swords. So he feels that what he wants, coming out of entrapment, what he sits in, a feeling of being entrapped, what he's coming into, the Ace of Swords. Coming out of stress and anxiety. So if you're asking about his health, it's definitely stress related and a feeling of being trapped. You can see what this is what he's coming out of. Both straight up. This is his 3rd house, what he marinates or sits in, a feeling of confinement or restriction, what he's coming out of, insomnia, trouble sleeping, migraines or headaches or tension headaches due to lack of sleep, stress, anxiety, problems in the digestive tract, problems in the stomach, problems in the head, migraine. What he's coming into near future is an inverted sun card, which is depression, grief, lack of energy. Sun is high energy. When it's inverted, it's the person that doesn't want to get out of bed. But it's crossing an Ace of Swords. So some kind of victory is coming that may not bode well for him. It's in the 4th house, so it's for the greater good. If you're a reader and you're trying to learn how to read the 4th house, what crowns a Celtic cross, I always think of it as the greater good or the higher good. So something positive is going to come out of this. But the fact that the near future, the 6th house, shows a sun card and it's action reaction coming from a 9 of Swords, whatever this victory is, that's ultimately for the greater good, he personally doesn't seem to be benefiting from it. There's a disconnect at this point, or a feeling of a struggle or challenge. We know that when I'm looking at DC, I think of the Hierophant as the higher power. It's usually the Constitution I think about. You can see a disconnect from the higher power, or a feeling of disconnect. Something's going on here. Exchange of ideas. This is good in the 8th house. Again, it's straight up, so we're not talking about fighting. This is more negotiation, compromise, and exchange of ideas. His hope and his fear, August. the Eight of Wands, growth. Something is coming, and it's coming in August. And then the final outcome is the inverted King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles coming again, this time inverted. Why? I just wish the readers who do, what the heck is with this damn King of Pentacles? Y'all know he keeps showing up, and people say Mike Pence is a King of Pentacles, or is he is he an air sign? I don't know. Anger and frustration coming ahead for William Barr. Continued growth in Congress. Congress is going to continue to get more information against this president, and the final outcome may be the grand negotiation. So in terms of his health, yes, he looks stressed out. He looks tired. He's not sleeping. His digestion is not good. He has tension headaches. We are moving towards a compromise and a victory position for the country overall. My concern is that Barr's personal story, it may not necessarily end well. I am a little concerned about his health. All right, so what are we doing next here? I'm going to try and get, this is a blitz, so we try to go as fast as we can and get to everybody's questions. Is Barr working for the president voluntarily? Yes, he is. He's trying to get DC back to normal in his mind, and that it got to be very dangerous in DC. There was a lot of protests, but also they were concerned about leaks, and that some of the investigations and attention were potentially going to harm future jury pools and future investigations. And so objectively, he felt the right thing to do was to try to get less drama on this investigation in DC, not to stop the investigation. He was misunderstood, but to simply try and calm things down so that the law could do its job. That's Barr's version of what he's trying to do. When I did the meditations over the last year, I didn't spend a lot of time on Robert Mueller. I only started to spend time on Robert Mueller because the people that watch this channel asked me to look at Robert Mueller. But when I did the remotes and was following the energy, I didn't wind up anywhere near Robert Mueller. It was almost like Robert Mueller was an investigation that everybody was supposed to focus and chase after, but it would ultimately not take us anywhere. It was like we kept our eye on the ball, we kept our eye on the Mueller investigation, and we should have been focusing instead on the intelligence agencies and data collection, which was where I kept going back to the intelligence agencies, leaks in the intelligence agencies, possible Russian operatives that had worked their way up into the higher echelons of the intelligence agencies, and that this had become a security breach, and that was the real investigation. And it was an investigation that involved not just the American intelligence agencies, but the international intelligence agencies, how the Russians were able to hack in, how they were able to pass information about voter rolls, etc. And that meant that there were people inside the intelligence agencies, high up in the intelligence agencies, that were working with foreign governments. And that was the real investigation. What the public investigation was to try and figure out if the President of the United States had been compromised. And Robert Mueller had a very small part in organizing data for a section of the public investigation. And then when he found something that was part of an ongoing FBI investigation, he then passed that information on. Or if he found something that was of value to the state of New York or somewhere else, he would pass it on. But again, the real investigation is about the fact that our intelligence agencies were severely compromised, and all 50 states were compromised, and the extent to which they were compromised, and slowly letting the American people know that in a way that's not going to lead to civil unrest. And to try and create some stability in DC while dealing with what is really a major security risk. That was how it looked for the remote viewer. But I kept being asked, no, go to Mueller, go to Mueller. So, sure, we'll go to Mueller and look at what Mueller's doing. But I never got the impression that Mueller was the main focus. That wasn't where, when I was following the energy, it was taking me to the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, tracking foreign business, hiding money, the IRS trying to find hidden money, smuggling persons, drugs, etc., cryptocurrency, using these islands. Those big things on Epstein's Island, those storage things look like they might be used not for people but for drugs, I would think. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he made his money. I mean, we could take a look at that, but yeah, that's what I saw as the main thing that we were investigating. So what else are we looking at today? Oh, people wanted to see if Kamala Harris. I can look at Deutsche Bank. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Let's look at Kamala Harris. Is Kamala Harris going to be the 46th president of the United States, or the 47th if we get Pence for a 9-month period? Let's just say, is Kamala Harris, what are the chances of her being the president of the United States? That works, right? She's a very brilliant person. You can see an ace of wands moving in for Kamala Harris, and you can see she is battling an inverted king of swords. We all know, if you watch this channel, what do we think about when we think about the inverted king of swords? Can anybody remember what I said about how I interpret the inverted king of swords? I teach with the Socratic method. People are like, you asked so many questions. Oh, this is interactive. We want you to participate. This is the scariest king in the card chart, right? Because he's draped in blue ice. And an inverted king of swords I interpret as psychopathic energy, violent, psychopathic, cold. He's as cold as ice. This is a dangerous energy. Victorious over conquering a dangerous, violent energy. The Ice King, the psychopath. Mastery. This is the card of mastery. What crosses her? She's worried that she's not going to get the financial support. They're blowing through money really quickly. She's going to have to be really frugal and judicious with the money coming in because they only have a certain amount. So she's a little bit concerned about getting the money together to support. Hopes and fears that she will have to walk away. She said if a Democrat gets into the White House, sure, I'd consider AG. But right now I'm running for the White House. That's what I'm hearing. So right now I'm running for the White House. But if it didn't happen, sure, I'd consider AG. She's slowing down, thinking about her strategy. She's looking at her strategy in a very dispassionate way. What do I need to do next? She has a real understanding that there's a limited amount of money that they have, and how can they pull their resources and use it effectively. Excellent judgment, straight up. She may have to leave the race just because she's not going to be able to compete with the big donors that are coming in. There's something about loss of money or unable to compete financially with Biden. Right now, she's not leaving the race. Somebody else may get the contract. You can see this in the 8th house, the contract coming in, or who's going to win the nomination. I don't know if it'll be her. I don't know if she's the one that's going to win the nomination. The hope and the fear. The Queen of Cups, another woman. She's competing directly, actually, with another woman. Negotiation. So it's interesting. I think of this as Klobuchar. And I don't think of Klobuchar as taking the nomination. So I don't know why that would be. I don't think that is. It could be that she and Klobuchar are also being considered by Biden in terms of who Biden's pick would be for VP. Biden is leaning towards a female VP. He is considering Kamala Harris, but he's also considering Klobuchar. A lot of people want him to pick Elizabeth Warren, but strong followers of Biden have strongly encouraged him not to and to go with a blue dog Democrat. He would be wise to pick Klobuchar because then he would have a strong showing in the Midwest. So that's where as far as she's concerned, if she's hoping to get the VP position, if she's thinking this is her strategy, if I don't get president, I can go up for VP or AG, in which case who do I have to watch out for? I don't want to piss off Biden too much because I'm hoping I might get VP, but I also have to watch Klobuchar because she's the next likely person to be picked for VP. And I also want to get along well with Biden in case he picks me for AG. So she's very strategic about it. Warren is great, but the financial backers, the big money behind Biden, don't want him to pick Warren. Okay, what else do we have? A lot of people like Biden. Biden's not bad. For a lot of people, they like Biden, and if he's evolved. The problem is he can't do a second term. Let Biden smell your hair first. Absolutely. Biden Klobuchar will not bring out young voters. I think he would take the Midwest. I agree that Biden is getting old. Director Coates is resigning. Doesn't surprise me. All right, so we're going to go ahead and shuffle again. People had asked if I could check again and see what happened in Cuba. There was attacks on American diplomats in Cuba, and they're now finding that they have loss of white matter. This is weird to me because if they've got loss of white matter, that would indicate some type of an injury when you get a loss of white matter. That's I don't know. Let's find out about the attacks in Cuba, what may have happened. Maybe it was just natural wear and tear. That loss of white matter is something that you sometimes see in a natural consequence of aging. Let's see if it's in any way related to these attacks. What happened in Cuba? Did the diplomats get attacked, or is the white matter simply a consequence of being an older statesperson? I mean, did they have it before they went to Cuba? What's going on with the people who claim they were attacked in Cuba? Or was it crickets? Base card, they're still trying to figure it out. You can see a 7 of Cups. Slowly, the health of these individuals is going to return. So whatever the damage was, there's a slow recovery, and it does look like it's some type of nerve damage. Research, therapy, they don't feel comfortable sending people back to Cuba until they can find out what the cause was. They suspect something really did happen. They don't think it's crickets. Yeah. So this is a legitimate investigation. The victims are experiencing migraines, inability to construct thoughts, they can't think, and they are saying, according to what I'm seeing here, that the people who went through this in Cuba, they feel that their brain has aged. So it's as if whatever happened to them atrophied or scrambled their brain, and now they're having serious cognitive decline. You can see a 9 of Swords inverted coming in. Assistance. Concerned that there's no recovery. They're worried that it's some type of, there's all kinds of working theories. One is that it's a biological warfare, that it was a virus or chemical, or a sound machine, some type of organic or organic cause. And they're not getting any assistance from Cuba. People will start responding to some of the treatments. You can see a 6 of Wands. What's weird when I go into this energy is it almost looks like multiple sclerosis and Alzheimer's, in the sense that when I go into this energy, I feel like I have trouble with my brain. It's scrambled. My brain is Swiss cheese. I can't put a thought together. I have physical pains, almost like Lyme disease. It almost feels like Lyme disease. And MS, which leads me to think it has a viral component or a biological warfare component to it, because this is the kind of loss of myelin sheath that you'll see in some of these autoimmune conditions like MS. And I don't think it's being adequately covered by the news. That would be the best way to describe it. So it almost makes me feel like they were experimenting with possible biological warfare with that kind of energy. All right, what is next? What caused it? It looks like it's some kind of possible biological weapon that they were experimenting with. Not just sound. The sound might have been the crickets. The problem is they'd been hit with possibly with biological, something biological, and the sound of the crickets was causing a migraine. So then they started thinking the problem was the crickets. And then a research scientist went and said, it's a cricket. There's nothing wrong with you. Well, there is something wrong. There is possibly a biological warfare or something going on, which made them hypersensitive to the sound of the crickets. You see how complicated this starts to get? And so then when they went and they did a CT on the brain, they found a loss of white matter. And that's something we see in aging populations, but we also see it in multiple sclerosis and in some types of viral infections that can lead to autoimmune infections, autoimmune reactions later on, which is what we think may trigger some autoimmune conditions like multiple sclerosis, where we also see loss of white matter, and so that may have been what happened. In plainer words, that because they got some kind of biological infection, they started to become sensitive to sound, and that's what it looked like. All right. Let's see what's next. Who is they? I don't know, probably somebody in Cuba. The Russians, maybe? I don't know. Well, Cuba has friendly relations with Russia. Is it possible that Russia was involved? Yes, it's entirely possible. We could try and find out who was involved in the attacks in Cuba. Was it the Russians, or was it Cuban, or was it an independent? How did this happen? How did this happen in Cuba? Who hurt those people? Was it the Russians? Was it the Cubans? This really looks biological. Yeah, they became hypersensitive to sound. They were having migraines and headaches and hypersensitive to sound, and so that's why they thought the sound was the problem. God, that's crazy. It's crazy that we got the answer, right? If we got the answer right. We'll document it here and see if we got it right? Because that's how we roll. People went so crazy on the Putin thing. He's like, I'm not a bad guy. Come on. Don't listen to the CIA. I'm not all bad. I like women. So he says. Fool, 10 of swords, coming in. Foolish choices. Whoever was responsible for it, there's some regrets about it. You can see there's some kind of a conflict regarding, or somebody's in trouble regarding this. So it was intentional and someone's in trouble regarding it. And yeah, I think it was Russia. They're going to be okay, though. Whatever some may experience permanent damage, and also whatever this was, it seems to have messed with the hearing a little bit. It was a vindictive act. Inverted 3 of swords, whether or not there's going to be an investigation or not within Cuba. Yes, there's an ongoing investigation. It looks like it was a foreign operation that was done probably by the Russians with the consent of Cuba. That would be how I would interpret it, yeah. Can see the trickster moving in, hopes and fears, the international consequences, and then the final outcome, an inverted 5 of Pentacles. So right now, the relations between the United States and Cuba are not good. Inverted 5 of Pentacles, but it's not entirely over. There's a possibility that we can improve our relationship with Cuba, but this looks like it was a foreign actor, probably Russia. But on some level, there was a tacit approval for it by Cuba. That would be the best way for me to interpret it. They keep saying that most of the people that were subjected to this will eventually recover, depending upon the severity of the condition that they got and how long they were exposed to it. But they keep saying that this was experimental also. This was an experimental thing. It's a way of driving diplomats out of areas. You know, scrambling people's brains so they can't do data collection. We live in crazy times, geez. Yeah, everything was I mean, they had a lot of cards like the Page of Cups is a health card, healing card, and the Strength card. It's just one other technique that the Russians are looking at to drive diplomats out of key areas. And I guess we were up to something. The CIA was up to something, and America was up to something, and Russia wanted us out of there. And so they experimented by releasing something that seems to have a biological component that went in and caused migraines and health challenges. You know, was it put in through the ventilation system, or I don't know. But evidently, according to the CTs the doctors have performed, it had some kind of effect on brain health. Yeah, U.S. soldiers targeted. I don't know about that. Can I do a remote viewing on myself? When I chant, I do morning prayers and evening prayers because I practice Buddhism. That's kind of how I connect with my executive branch of my brain, or, you know, my Buddha nature. It's interesting from the perspective of brain studies. A General Theory of Love is a really great book to check out. It was recommended by one of my professors when I was in med school. And it talks about the fact that we really have 3 brains. We have the hindbrain, the midbrain, and the forebrain. And this is one of the reasons why human beings sometimes will be in conflict with themselves. You know, we have the reptilian brain that wants its personal needs to be met. We have the limbic system, which is hormones and emotions. And then we have the prefrontal frontal cortex, the forebrain, which is the great executor. And one of the benefits we think to meditation, chanting, is the ability to help with cognition and get the different parts of the brain, which may sometimes not always be communicating, the different aspects of the brain, to get them to communicate with one another. And that seems to be the benefit of chanting and meditation techniques. To be truly present for yourself and to be truly present for another human being is really the beginning of peace. You know, and how that can translate into mediation between groups or people that don't necessarily see things the same way. What was the name of the book? The name of the book was called A General Theory of Love. And it talks about how in evolution, reptiles didn't have live births. So they just had their basic needs. They would, you know, that's the reptile. So if you are frozen in the reptile state, maybe due to early trauma, then a person's operating from the reptile complex, the limbic system. If they're frozen, then theoretically that person wouldn't be able to develop other parts of the brain that develop later in life, like the prefrontal and frontal cortex. And this is one of the theories of abnormal psychology and trauma, severe trauma in early life, and why in that type of trauma, this, you know, even Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung started to look at that, the id, the ego, and the superego. But in modern science, we think about it as the reptilian complex, the limbic system, or, you know, the midbrain and the forebrain, and its natural evolution and development, which can take years. This is why there's debate about when people really have full cognitive abilities. And in the case of abnormal psychology, where someone is frozen or traumatized, the question comes up if they really do have, you know, full faculty, full prefrontal capacity to access that. So the function of meditation and empathy exercise is to cultivate and develop those parts of our brain, particularly if they've been stunted or underdeveloped due to early trauma. And so that's why it's believed that it helps. And it's also why it's a great technique to learn empathy, because if you are someone who experienced a lot of early trauma, it seems to be one aspect of antisocial personality disorder is this trauma that causes this type of selfishness. It's like the experiment with the marshmallow. Kids that were severely neglected, kids in foster home, etc., and they put a marshmallow in front of them for 15 minutes and say, if you don't eat that marshmallow in 15 minutes, I'll give you another marshmallow. And they found that the children who'd been neglected, the foster kids, just ate the marshmallow. They had poor impulse control because there had never been any reason to develop impulse control. It was simply eat or be eaten. They just simply were trying to survive. Whereas with children whose basic needs were met, who came from good, loving, stable homes, were able to wait 15 minutes and get the second marshmallow, right? So that was the marshmallow experiment. All right, we're going to go ahead and close. I have time for one last question. I'm happy to do it if people want me to throw the we don't talk to people like that. This is the Oracle of Whimsy. This is not a cult, and we don't attack each other. Love, and we don't call each other names. I'm sorry. And people, by the way, can disagree with me. We don't have to gang up on people that disagree with me. This is not a cult. This is just whimsy. So yeah, so Please, let's be kind to each other. Somebody has asked about the Koch brothers. Oh, surviving narcissism. Yeah. Well, I'm convinced that because I met somebody a couple years back that suffered from severe malignant narcissism, and it was really easy to hate him. But I'm an empath. I actually got a lot out of that relationship. I mean, it was hell, but and he was in hell, but yeah, he was a severely traumatized person. All right, we're going to go ahead and close. Just ask permission from Spirit if there's anything that everybody needs to know that I didn't get a chance to tell them. How's the week going to go? Let's close and see how our week's going to go. If there's anything people need to know that they don't already know, let's go ahead and let's close. The best way to stop narcissism, the great irony, is to stop what you're doing and be mindful of your own self. The great irony is to give yourself what you need, which is to be mindful. And then you can be present for others. I'm tempted to write a thesis on it, because what we think of as differences in philosophies seem to be expressions of pathology, like fanaticism. There's a huge relationship I see between malignant narcissism and religious fundamentalism. That religious fundamentalism may actually be a symptom of the medical condition malignant narcissism. When you're a malignant narcissist, you tend to be attracted to cults, you tend to be attracted to extremism, and you tend to believe that you speak for God. And so you'll often see people who suffer from malignant narcissism being attracted to extremist politics, extremist religion. And sorry to offend anybody, but two movements came out of the Russian Revolution, the libertarians and the socialists. Ayn Rand was one of the early proponents of what became libertarianism. And that was really the intellectual middle class response to the fall of the Tsar. And so it's kind of interesting that you have socialism on one end and libertarianism, and they're battling it out, and both were products of the Russian Revolution. But I often think of libertarianism, not, I'm sure there are good arguments with libertarianism, but I often see it expressed, it often goes hand in hand with malignant narcissism. It's all about me. I can do what I want at the expense of everybody else. Take care of myself first. If you die, you die. It's eat or be eaten. And it's often embraced by people who were raised middle class, upper middle class. Most of their needs were met. And I'm sorry I don't mean to be offensive, but don't recognize their own white privilege. That's my criticism of libertarianism. It's often white men. Most of their needs were met when they were growing up, and then criticizing people who grew up poor, struggling, and saying, "Oh, you didn't apply yourself." That's my problem with libertarianism, and that's my problem with Ayn Rand, by the way. Okay, let's close. What we need to know, the work on the international stage. So what's probably going to be happening this summer is we're going to be seeing people in the intelligence agencies, people involved in security. We're going to see more international trips. This is an opportunity for people to go back, speak to their constituents, but it's also an opportunity for people like Nancy Pelosi and people involved in government to take more international trips and to establish firm relationships with our allies. You can see the World Card coming in and doing the work, also to try and smooth things out or work out some kind of deal so that we can avoid war. You can see an 8 of Wands. August is really a pivotal month for that. So it's almost like it's good in a way that we're taking a break from DC, because now is a time that we really are going to be focusing more on our relationship with the outside world and less about the bickering in DC. I'm concerned about continuing mental decline by the president. Expect more erratic tweets and more erratic behavior from the president in August. I'm concerned about his health. It comes up a lot. Something's going to be ending in August, and it's a health concern. The healer, Hermes, the healer, sits in the 3rd house, and he brings messages regarding health and healing. Abuse of power could also be something that comes up, and an end to the abuse of power, or the end of an abuse of a poor judgment. Renaissance. This is a term I keep hearing over and over and over again. Renaissance. That some beautiful energy is moving in, and it's bringing peace. The 6 of Cups. Old alliances changing, tempers flaring. People are coming back to the table. People are talking again at the table, but there's also a lot of tension. August is a make or break month in these cards. We will either come together, or things will get worse. That's really it's not a stagnant month. It's a month of people reestablishing their relationships, communicating with each other, and basically trying to avoid war. I mean, that's the best way I would describe these cards. I like the fact that the base card is the World card, because it suggests a willingness to speak to one another. And I like the fact that there's a 6 of Cups there. All right, we're going to go ahead and close it out. I really liked hanging out with you folks. Again, I apologize for my sleep in. I guess I needed it. All right, be well, everyone. We'll see you next time. Woo, I went for an hour and 6 minutes. I'm very proud of myself. All right, have a good day, everyone. Peace out. Bye. Bye. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome, everyone. Be well. Have an awesome Sunday.